Ladies and gentlemen, before we get started on this episode, it's important to remember that we need to be empathetic and understanding of every single guest that I have on this show, so that way they understand that they can share this stuff without having any backlash coming from the community. I think it takes a lot of bravery for someone to come on this show and be able to tell about heart-wrenching things that occur. So please be understanding, empathetic, and supportive to my guests. If you enjoyed this content, it would really help me out if you did 3 things. You followed me on Twitter, you subscribed to me on YouTube, and you share out this video to any of your friends who might also enjoy this content. I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Deep Dives into the Minds of Esports. My name is Blake Panashevitz, and with me today, I have someone who is a panda enthusiast, but he can really only be described as the Moneyball numbers genius of Overwatch. He is one of the creators for Winston's Lab, and now the analyst of the Toronto Defiant. Please let me welcome Dennis Matz, maybe better known as Barroi. Welcome.
Hello. Did you see my panda? It's amazing, right?
It is, and that's actually, we're going to get into that first, because first of all, I have a story that I can talk about with animals and you that the world really needs to hear about, because I think it's one of the funniest things ever. But we're going to start it off easy. You have an affinity for 2 creatures in this world, and they are not human beings at all.
No, obviously not.
No. So it's pandas and penguins.
Yeah.
Why?
Obviously. Well, they are cute. I don't know. They are both of a similar color scheme. Mm-hmm. I like pandas. Like, did you see? I mean, just look at panda videos. Seriously, just watch panda videos. There's nothing you will hate about panda videos. They're just like rolling around, eating bamboo, like running after the fucking warden. I don't know. They're amazing. And penguins are just amazing. They're just cute. Fucking birds that can't fly, apparently.
So, you mentioned birds not being able to fly, and this is a story that the world needs to hear about. So, me and Barroi, we talk quite frequently, and one of these times, me and some other people were talking, and Barroi brought up penguins, and I think it was Sideshow who linked a video.
Sideshow
linked Barroi this video. It's a fake video that's very well done about penguins taking off and flying. And when Barroi watched this, I kid you not, he thought penguins could fly, which we need to talk about your biology classes growing up. But
well, see, okay, so let's get this straight. I always knew penguins couldn't fly, right? But then there's this fucking BBC documentary or something, right? And those penguins, dude, they are taking off. They are taking off. They are running, and then they're starting to fly, and I'm like, what the fuck? That's so amazing, dude. I was so happy for the penguins because no one would believe in them, but they would just fly, dude. I was literally the happiest person on earth for like 5 minutes.
So
until
he's
you
like,
destroyed it.
I know. So he believes this. Like, there's this moment of hope. It's like a child realizing that Santa Claus brought presents to them for the first time, right? And they're like, oh my god, he really is real. And so he really believed it. And I felt bad because Barroi is, how old are you, Barroi? You're what? 20?
I'm 25.
25. So Barroi's 25, and I'm like, oh my god, can you imagine a 25-year-old believing in Santa Claus? Like, I feel bad for this. And so I very nicely was like, hey Barroi, I sent him a message privately. I was like, you know that this is a fake video. And so what does he do?
What do you mean nicely?
He copies the message and he literally sends it to everybody. Like, what the heck? Blake is saying that this isn't real, and I'm like, wow, you just throw me out to, but I ruined Christmas for him. In that moment, someone felt so much pain.
When you sent that message to me, I was still not sure if you're serious, because I was so happy. I was totally convinced that those penguins could fly. They were flying to the jungle because it's too warm. I mean, I don't get that, right? Why wouldn't they? Why would they fly to the jungle?
Sideshow told him that penguins fly all the way to Africa.
Yeah, but seriously, dude, this message was not nice at all. It was just blunt. Hey, you know, penguins can't fly, and I'm like, wait, nah, wait, what? Because dude, I was so fucking happy. You can't believe how happy I was. I was so happy that those penguins flew.
It's not often that you get to
I
ruin
watched the
Christmas for
video
an
again.
adult.
I watched the video again and again, and I was like, I was like grinning, I was smiling, I was the happiest person on earth. I never felt that happy in my life. And like, not even 5 minutes later, you message me and say, it's fake. Come on.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is why you should not send sensitive messages through text message to any significant others or people that are inside of your life, because it does not come across in a nice way.
And afterwards you tell me you enjoyed it.
I mean, I did kind of enjoy it a little bit. Okay, so I enjoyed it because I don't like the idea of lying to someone, and so it was like this true revolution where you could break through and see the truth in life. It would be like if you could prove like some extreme philosophy isn't real, and then they're open to the world of truth that is before them, whether or not it was better than not. It's like being in the Matrix and being ripped out. I got to rip you out of the Matrix. Okay, you're like Neo, and I'm Morpheus.
I had no choice, though. I had no choice.
I forced that pill down your throat.
What the fuck?
It was great. And now you get to see the world for its cruel hardness that it is. Oh. So
yeah.
we have a lot of fun things to talk about. I'm pretty excited. I kind of have a list here of things that I want to go through. So obviously the premise of the show is to kind of get to know you as a person, which I find very exciting because there's not a lot out there about you. And you have been someone who has actually been around in the background for quite a while now. You haven't just you didn't just pop out of nowhere. You have been in the background working with different teams or on Winston's lab obviously for a while. So we're gonna jump way before that. So you grew up in Germany, right?
That's correct.
Okay, where did you grow up in Germany?
I grew up in the poorest region of Germany.
Okay.
Actually, it's like I don't know. It's just known for I think it's like the most populated region in Europe. Actually, it's called. I don't think there's an English word for it, but it's called the Ruhrgebiet, where.
You push to talk, Barroi.
Maybe. Here we go. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, sorry. I think my headset died. So I grew up in this like Ruhrgebiet, which is the most populated area in Germany. It translates to like Ruhr area, where Ruhr is just a river, and around that river there's like tons of people. So we have like it's literally the most populated area. It's like Los Angeles.
Okay.
But way small. Is the size of Los Angeles in population, but like contracted to, I don't know, a couple of square miles. And yeah, that's where I grew up.
So what's the environment? You mentioned that it was a poor area, and I know that in the United States, some of the poor areas you see an increase of crime rates and stuff like that. What type of area was that there? Was there lots of crime? Was there lots of drug problems? Was it one of those areas, or was it just?
Well, yeah, the whole area is basically known for mining coal. So that's why it's like so populated, because a lot of immigrants came to mine coal there. And when I was born, the coal industry was basically dead. So there's a lot of unemployment there. And the city I grew up in was once known as the city that mines the most coal in Europe, and was known for being the most criminal city when I grew up in it. So that's fun. But yeah, it's like mostly known, I think in Germany at least, it's mostly known for being like the football mecca, and football meaning soccer, because a lot of football teams are just formed there. And I guess it's just because a lot of people live there and they have nothing else to do than play soccer.
Okay, so it's actually known for being a football region. Do people get out of there? Is there like ways to, so like a lot of times, well, there are ways to kind of like escape social norms in the United States. They say that it's much harder. And generally, if you look at a lot of different places, people don't generally do that. They tend to be stuck there and kind of in a repetitive cycle. Is there ways to get out of that system? I know that you went through school and you did fairly well and you went to college for a bit, but
yeah, I don't know if there's like a general way. I would just basically say move, because it's not difficult to move somewhere else, and a lot of people just don't do that. So yeah, I guess you could probably just move, but I'm not an expert on that, so
yeah. So what was school like there? You mentioned, was there lots of different schools in that one area? Was there only a couple schools? Because if you look at like LA, there is a ton of schools, like public schools and stuff that you can go to within the area. Was there any private schools, public schools, stuff like that in that area?
Well, basically in Germany we don't have many private schools anyway, so everyone's going to public schools. The system works in a way that you basically choose the elementary school you want to go to, and it's normally the nearest school you get. There's no like, this school is better than the other. Like every elementary school is looked at the same, basically. And then after elementary school, you're put into one of the 3 secondary schools, which is for like the smartest kids, the medium smart kids, and the dumbest kids, basically. That's how the system works, and there you have not much choice as well. So the teachers basically recommend a school that is normally followed by the parents, but the parents have the ultimate say. So if the teacher says your kid is not smart enough for the smartest school, but your parents say, oh, he should go anyways, you can go there. And normally how it works in like a small area, there's only like one of those schools for the smartest kid, one of the school is for the medium kids, and so on. Mm-hmm. And I was fortunate enough to attend the smart kids school. There we go. Fuck. But yeah, in general, I think I changed schools when I went to the equivalent of what is high school in America. Mm-hmm. And I changed to a school that was outside of that general area of the Ruhrgebiet, of the Ruhr area.
Why did you change?
It's funny. It's like a lot of coincidences, really. But my life is just a lot of coincidences, really. But just to tell the whole story, maybe there was like there's like a thing in school where I think it was on like Girls' Day. So all the girls go to a workplace where men usually work, and in Germany we do it now that all the boys normally go to a workplace where girls go. It might not have been Girls' Day actually, but I went to some IT place actually, which is not a girls' place. So okay, screw that. But I went to some IT place for a day. It was only a day, and there I met like 2 people who attended the school I later went to, and they told me about this new school where you could have computer science as a major subject. And I was kind of into computer science back then. It was like 9th grade. And I thought, damn, normally you can't have computer science as like a major subject in high school. Because in Germany, you basically have 2 like major subjects. And then you have a lot of minor subjects. And you can choose which major subjects you want. Those are weighted higher and are like harder generally. So if you, for example, choose math as your major subject, you will have more complex math classes than the kids who don't do that in high school. And normally, again, you can't have computer science as like a major subject in high school. And they told me about the school way out there that has this opportunity. And I thought, damn, I kind of want to do that. So like 1 or 2 years later, I decided to actually go to that school, wake up at 5 in the morning every day to take a train for an hour to get there. And what I actually wanted to say is all the people in this new area with this new school, they always told me that if you have a high school degree in the area I grew up in, everyone would laugh at you because it's just this looked down upon region, right? This kind of opened my mind the first time.
So you go to look to move to this new school, and you're gonna have to wake up really early every day, and that means you're also getting home late every day, most likely, because it's an hour both ways. What did your parents say when you're like, "Hey, mom, dad, I want to go to the school in the middle of nowhere. It's gonna take me an hour train. I'm gonna be on an hour train back."
Yeah, I don't know. I think they just went along with it. Really, they were like, okay, sure. Well, why not? Right? I don't know. I've always.
Oh, your mic died again. Killing me, boy.
I'm so sorry about that.
Killing me. It's okay.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Don't expect me to edit this. That's all I'm letting you know.
Nah, you should not. I would not. I probably have to buy a new headset at some point.
No,
so yeah, they just kind of went along with that.
Oh, your headset again. You might just need to go steal someone else's headset.
I could do that.
You could.
I could do that. I don't know how to.
Isn't Toronto sponsored by a headset maker? Are they sponsored by someone who makes headsets yet?
I can't disclose any information.
Okay.
Yeah, if it cuts out again, I might just steal Bishop's headset. It's lying there.
But we can take a break if you want to go steal it.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do that.
You go steal it.
Better. Okay. See you in a second. Sorry, Blake.
It's okay. It's why I have nice things, Barroi, like flying penguins.
Wow.
So, moving on. What we were talking about is kind of like the school system and your parents, and whether or not they allowed you to kind of move back and forth. And you were talking about kind of like their opinion of you going back and forth.
Yeah, exactly. So, they kind of went along with that because I've always been like kind of independent kid, and at that point I only lived with my mother. My parents were divorced at that time, and yeah, she was basically kind of like, okay, if you want to do that, then do that. I guess because maybe she like trusted me because I always have been kind of more mature than others my age. So she just thought, okay, why not?
Mm-hmm. So do you have any brothers or sisters then?
Yes, I have a younger brother who's like 2.5 years younger than me.
Okay, 2.5 years younger. So you mentioned that your parents got divorced. So my parents divorced right when I was right around 6. When did your parents divorce? I must have been like 9 or 10 back then. Mm-hmm. That's actually fairly old. It must have been very confusing and and rough.
The thing is, it was like double rough because 1 year before that we moved to literally a village. Like we moved to a village with like 100 people living there because it was closer to the workplace of my dad.
Mm-hmm.
Then like, okay, it wasn't even a year later that they divorced and we moved back into Dreamland. So we moved back into the city I grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of weird because I was at the end of elementary school back then, and I basically left my classmates for not even a year, then came back, and it was like super confusing because I came back into the same class, the same classmates, and I was like, oh, I'm back. How are you? And I guess I didn't really know what was going on, but then again, I tried to be, because my brother was very small, I tried to be this like older brother figure where I where I tried to seem like this didn't touch me really.
Mhm.
And I don't really know if it actually did. I don't know. It's just like at this point, it's like a weird. It must have been a weird situation, yeah.
So what did your dad do for a job? Because you mentioned he moved for a job.
I would actually have to Google what that word is in English. But it's. Let me actually Google it because I have no idea how to explain that.
I could see the light.
I'm so sorry about the light.
The light's okay. It's okay.
Okay, so it's called welder.
Oh, welding. Okay.
So yeah, he was welding, and he was in kind of he got into like a good position in his company. So he was like a instructor, I guess. He instructed other people, and he was welding himself and stuff. And I'm doing a podcast on. So
Cameo.
hello.
They can only see like half of his face because I cut him off.
That's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to not see all of his face. So yeah, he was like a welder. He got into a good position, and we thought it would be better to move into like a. Well, they thought. I had no opinion back then, but they thought it would be better to move closer to the company actually, because he was like driving back and forth for like an hour and a half every day, one trip. So yeah.
Okay, so you go to move. What did your mom do? Was she a stay-at-home mom? Did she also work?
Back then, so she always like. I think when we grew up, she was more like stay at home, but she always did something on the side where I guess she worked like, for example, in the cafeteria of my school or something like that, small. After
Always
they
to keep her
divorced.
eye on you.
Yeah, kind of maybe. After they divorced, she obviously did something more full time, but I think she always only did stuff on the side back then. Yeah.
So this, you're growing up. Was your home life? Did it come out of the blue? Was it very unexpected for you?
Yes. It was very unexpected because it was a weird situation where my mom just decided to like literally move out the day she told my dad, basically. And so a bunch of cars showed up, and we literally moved back to where we came from in a day. And I think she kind of tried to explain it to me. I don't have the best memories of that, but she kind of tried to explain it to me in like a calm way, and I kind of just took it and tried to be mature about it, I guess. So yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, that's about all you could do. Like, I know that when my parents divorced, it was very confusing and emotional, especially because we did split custody. So I would travel back and forth like all the time. I don't know if you had some sort of custody.
Yeah, on weekends we would always go to our dad for a while.
Yeah, and so that's how it was for me growing up for most of the time until like high school, when I actually switched houses that I was living in, and I didn't go visit my mom like at all. But it was always very like weird, and you get used to it after a while. But I remember when it like first started happening, it was like, oh hey, this weekend I'm leaving. Oh, I can't do these sports events because it's an hour and a half drive to visit my dad for a while. And so it's one of the reasons why I got into video games so much, is because I was like, okay, well I can't do anything extracurricular anyway, so I might as well just play video games. So
I guess that's how it works. Yeah, for me it was like, I don't know, I was kind of okay with all of that, because even though we never had like the most money or anything, it was like whenever we were at my dad, we were going fishing or something that's like doesn't require a lot of money, but also can be fun.
Yeah.
And I kind of got into that new family because my father got a new girlfriend, which is now his new wife. And she had 2 kids herself, So I kind of got a new stepbrother and a new stepsister. The sister didn't really live with us because she's like 7 years older than me.
Mhm.
So she was a grown up already, but on weekends at least I got to live with two brothers now, which was a new situation. But it was always kind of fun. I have like a lot of fun memories
Mhm.
until a certain point. So yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned that you had a lot of fun memories until a certain point.
Yeah.
My job is always to ask
Yeah,
about that
I
stuff.
knew. So and yeah, it's always been like kind of hard talking about that, but recently, or like in the last few years, I think I got more used to it. Where my father had alcohol problems. He was addicted to alcohol, and that was basically the reason my mom broke up. And she explained that to me when they divorced. That's
Mhm.
maybe why I kind of took it and was not too emotional about it. Because I obviously noticed it too when I was a kid.
Yeah.
There were like incidents where I have this one memory where I must have been like 5 or 6, and we went like fishing with my friend who lived next door with like a childhood friend. But my father was drunk, so we actually never got to fish, and then so we just drove to the river. He literally just got drunk, and then we drove back while he was drunk, and the police came and all of that shit because he
Oh wow.
drove over red lights. That's like the oldest memory I probably have, and so I kind of knew it, and I kind of that's why I kind of took it. And later on, when we went to our dad on weekends, at some point, um, I decided I don't want to see him again because it got like really bad, and I
Yeah.
was older back then, so I understood it more, and I didn't want to. I didn't want to take it anymore, really.
Mhm.
So I just told him, and that's like that was rough. But I kind of told him that I don't want to see him anymore, and so I didn't get to see him for a couple of years. Yeah.
Did your brother still go and see him?
Yes, my brother still went to see him. He was younger, so
Yeah.
I think maybe he didn't understand it that well yet. And I don't know. I can't really tell you when it was that I told him. Maybe I was like 12 or 13.
Mhm.
So my brother must have been like 10 or 11 or something like that. But he still went there, and I was fine with that, obviously. It was just like, that was a world I kind of abandoned completely.
Yeah, no, I actually can relate quite well. So my mom, growing up, she did a lot of fentanyl, which is a very, very strong drug that they give to like people who are in a lot of pain and sometimes dying cancer patients. So she would do fentanyl, and she was remarried to my stepdad. And I think I was 17, 16 when I actually was like, I'm not doing this anymore. But I wouldn't do it unless my brother also had made a decision to do it. And so I put up with it a lot longer because I was always worried about him. And I would always try to do whatever I could to help protect him because I felt like that was part of my job. And so for me, when I had that conversation, it was with my brother, and we're like, okay, we're both going to do this. And that was
Interesting.
one of the reasons why I ended up moving back with like my dad and living just full time with my dad was much similar. And my grandparents were also alcoholics, and so it can be really, really rough. So one of the reasons why I always watch how much I drink, and I'm always very, very careful about that because of that, because it's scary.
Yeah, same. I don't drink at all, actually. This is like, I don't drink alcohol, I don't do any drugs, I don't even like smoke cigarettes because I feel like I don't want to expose my brain to that. I kind of, I mean, it can be fun and stuff, obviously, but I just had this experience, and I just like kind of made myself clear that I never want to be in the same situation. And just to be clear, I'm like on good terms with my dad now, because after like 2 or 3 years, his new wife, back then she wasn't his wife yet, but she also had alcohol problems, and she went to what is it called? Rehab. Yeah, she went to a rehab, and she told him that if he doesn't go to a rehab, their relationship is over. And at that point, they were together for like at least 5 years already. So my dad went to a rehab as well, and he didn't really believe in it. He thought like it's total crap and stuff, but he completely rehabbed. He isn't drinking any alcohol anymore for like, I don't even know, more than 5 years now. So he hasn't touched alcohol anymore. He's completely back. And at some point he approached me again. It was like slowly approached me again. He was very careful about that, and tried to get a relationship going with me again, because I literally I hadn't talked to him for years. And he did that in a very careful manner, and we kind of started to see each other again, like every other weekend, watch like football together, and at this point I'm in a really good relationship with my father, I have to say. I mean, I obviously don't get to see him at all because I'm in LA, and I didn't get to see him much in Germany either, because I was in university. But same with my mother. Still though, like, I just felt like there was a really mature relationship between us, and I really appreciate that. And right now, I have to say, it's kind of weird to say, but I kind of am thankful for all of this happening, because I kind of feel like this just made me the person I am, and I don't really want to be someone else, because I feel like this whole experience, the whole alcohol and then divorce and living only with my mother, having not too much money, it just kind of, I don't know, it just kind of feels necessary to get like this kind of wake up call. I don't know, you can't really call it wake up call, but it's like a nice path to maturity.
Yeah, you have a lot of learning experiences that people don't normally get. Because I can really, like, I know that growing up I was very much more mature than like the people that were in my school, because of the circumstances that I was in. And I remember being like 16 and like worrying about bills, and I'm like, I shouldn't have to worry about bills at 16 probably most of the time. But I mean, there is benefits for going through those experiences. And I was going to ask you if you had built your relationship, which I'm happy to hear that you did with your dad. What was that like when you first started to rebuild that? Because I know that for me, it is terrifying. Like, there are moments still where I reach out, and it's still always, it's very, very terrifying. And you don't trust what's happening. You're like, is this fake? Is this real? What was that like for you?
So I'm a very introverted person, and maybe, or like I was a very introverted person. Maybe that is because of the divorce. I was like kind of a shy kid. I don't really think I am anymore. I kind of changed in the last few years. But so maybe it is because of those circumstances. But because I was very introverted, when he approached me again, I was like very skeptical, and I guess you could just say very, very skeptical of everything, because something like that happened earlier as well, and so like a couple of years, or like a year before, he tried to contact me again, but he didn't go through rehab back then. So I kind of tried to start seeing him again, but stuff was still bad, so I broke it up again. So I was even more careful because this happened. And I'm sorry about all the Koreans, by the way.
No, you're good.
I guess you can hear them. But yeah, I was very skeptical, and at some point, because I heard that he went through rehab, I didn't really believe it, that he would not drink any alcohol anymore. But my brother confirmed it, and I was like, okay, maybe I should just like try to see him on one weekend. And that was like literally just a day, I think, where we hang out and watched football together, went to like a restaurant, ate some food, and from there, it was not on a regular basis, but like once a month or something, he would just like contact me and was like, oh, do you want to watch football together? And I was like, yeah, okay, sure. And that way it slowly became the relationship that we have now.
Did he ever apologize?
Yes. So like he still does that. He's still like, as people are, they always go talk about their memories, and like whenever I see him, like whenever there's like a big family meeting on Christmas or something, the topic kind of comes up at some point where he just starts talking about it himself. So he just starts talking about it, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't know what I would do. I think," he says something like, "I think I would be dead by now if I wouldn't have gone through the rehab, just because of the alcohol and not seeing his kids as well." He thinks that he's like a super lucky person to be able to see his kids again. And I can feel that this is not something he lies about.
Are you grateful that he did that? Are you really grateful that you have that relationship now that you've
Yes,
been able to get that?
I would even say I have a better relationship with him than with my mom. It just feels so truthful. There are like no lies anymore. There's like everything he says to me, everything I can say to him, it's just the 100% the truth. He won't like ever. I feel like everything he says is like there's nothing in the back of his mind that that is that is controversial to what he's actually saying. You know, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just a very genuine relationship.
So it's basically he's honest all the time now.
Yes. Yes.
And maybe even if it's not something you want to hear, at least you know he's always being honest.
Correct. Yeah. It is. Yeah, I'm really grateful for that. If he thinks that I'm doing something badly, or like I'm doing something that I shouldn't do, he would tell me, and the same way I can tell him if I think that there's something that I shouldn't do, and he always tries to kind of use his life experience to teach me. So not only about the divorce and the alcohol stuff, but also just general life experience. And he always says that he's like grown a lot from, which is funny, from his like I don't know, from his like end of 30s to now starting almost 60s probably. He just says that he's like grown a lot and he learned so much that it's incredible.
So what was your relationship with your brother like then? Because for me and my brother got very, very close because of the divorce, and especially some of the situations going back with my mom and my stepdad being abusive. We got very, very close because I felt always this need to like protect him, and so I was always trying to be there for him. And we were really close growing up from that. What was your relationship with your brother like?
So I don't think we were close. Yeah, I don't think we were like particularly close, but and there's like a huge gap between us just because we are very different people. Where I always was like a very introverted child, he was like more of the outgoing one. He was like basically the extreme opposite of me. I was like more focused on school and stuff, while he was doing stuff with his friends. And so while we never like were really close, we got along. So there was a situation later on where my mother had a new boyfriend, and he always praised me because I was like good in school and all of that stuff, and he was always looking down on my brother who was not taking school seriously and who was doing shit with his friends all the time. And I kind of felt the need to protect him back then, and which I tried to do. But this person who was my mother's boyfriend was not very open to discussion, let's say. A very stoic person. But I always tried to. I always felt the need to kind of protect him in a way. Even though we never really were close, we were like arguing sometimes, but most of the time we were just not talking to each other. But still, I feel like there's some connection there even now. Like I don't talk to my brother a lot, but sometimes I would call him like once a year maybe, and it's just like a fun conversation. He matured a lot in the last few years. where earlier I thought he was like very immature, but now he's like starting to become more mature himself, and I think we can hold a conversation now just fine.
So, looking at that, you obviously changed schools when the divorce happened. What was school like for you? Were you someone who was? You mentioned you were very introverted. So did you have a lot of friends? Did you make friends? What was the school? Did the school have people who were not very nice due to the area? Were you someone who got picked on? Were you someone who fit in with groups? Where did you fall in school?
Early on, when the divorce happened and I just got into 5th grade, I did not have many friends. Maybe I didn't have any friends really in school, and I guess I kind of got picked on because I also was obese back then, because of the whole divorce situation, and so I was overweight. I was a little bit picked on. I never really had friends, and at that point, like a kind of a cut happened where I had to repeat the class because I was too bad in German and English, funnily enough.
Both the languages you speak.
Yes. Well, English I really couldn't speak back then, though. But so there was kind of this cut where I had to repeat classes, and I told myself that I want to change. I remember that quite well, because I told myself I want to change. I lost a lot of weight back then, and this is amazing to me because I must have been like 12 or 13 years old, and I kind of made this decision to like lose weight and suddenly become a different person. So I got into the new class, but there was a summer break obviously where I could lose all the weight and could like prepare myself for the new class, for the new people. And I got into this new class, and I kind of immediately found friends. I kind of there were people that I got along with well because they were also good at math, the only thing I was good at. and all this change really had a positive effect on me, even though I don't remember if I really changed in those like 2 or 3 months where we had summer break, if all of this happened back then, as well with the weight loss and everything. But still, this whole decision, it just got positive reinforcement, and from there I kind of became a different person.
So when you first make this decision, like your life is it seems like it's going downhill, you're getting picked on, and all of a sudden end of school year hits and you're like, I'm going to change my life. What do you start doing to change your life?
Yeah, that's a good question.
That's almost like the $1 million. What did you do to start changing your life? Did you start to look at things in a different way? Did you start doing goal setting? What did you do to actually do those change?
I think it just started with losing weight. Really, for me, this was a big thing where I just lost weight.
How did you lose weight? Did you just eat different? Did you start running? Okay.
I didn't eat as much. That's all there is. I was a kid back then, so all I could think of was just not eat as much, and it worked.
That is a massive amount of self-control as a kid, if you think about it.
Yeah. I remember there were situations where my mother would be like, "Oh, you should eat some more," and I was like, "No, I want to lose weight," and she was like kind of scared because she thought I would go like so extreme way where I don't eat at all. But yeah, it kind of worked, and I don't really know what else changed. I guess because I guess the first day in school must have been like something where I tried to be more open with people, try to make friends, and since there were a lot of new people that had like similar interests, as opposed to in the previous class where there weren't as many, I don't want to be rude, but there weren't as many smart kids who would just be into math. In this new class, there were a couple of those, and I just got along with them, and then I got along with the other kids as well. And even though I was in this weird situation where I was 1 year older than, or actually I wasn't 1 year older because I joined elementary school 1 year earlier, so I actually was the same age. But since I repeated
You got a
class, I was in
freebie.
this. Yeah, since I repeated class, I was still in this weird situation where I was this new guy, right? Because in Germany, you're in the same class from 5th to 10th or actually 13th grade. So you're together forever and starting from 5th grade. And I was this new guy who must have been like this outcast, this bad guy, because I repeated class, right? So I must be this stupid motherfucker. Yeah, sorry, I must be
You
this
can
stupid
swear. I
kid,
don't care.
right? And yeah, I don't know. Even though I was in this situation, maybe that's why people were interested in me, and maybe that's why they started to come to me, and that helped me a lot to open up myself. Because again, I was not a very extroverted kid. So if people come to me, yeah, sorry.
No, I was gonna ask you. Did you have a lot of anxiety talking to people, like especially people you didn't know?
Yes. Back then I didn't really feel that. It must have been just like something unconscious. But later on, I really noticed that I have a lot of problems if there are strangers. If there are strangers in a group that I can't. I feel very. I felt. It's not that anymore. I felt very weirded out, and I tried not to talk to people. I always thought that there was like maybe some hostility going on. I tried to keep my distance all the time. And again, that's only something that I noticed later on in my life. But it must have been like that back then. So I don't know how I really made friends, but it's probably just that similar interest evolved into friendship.
So you're going through school, and you weren't doing so hot in some of it. Did you start to do a lot better in school from that point on?
I was my grades increased by. Okay, maybe I have to go through the German fucking grade system here, but so in Germany you have grades from 1 to 6. 1 is the best, and 6 is the worst. You fail class if you have a 5.
Okay.
I don't know why there's a 6, but you fail class if you have a 5.
We have A, B, C, D, E, so.
Yeah. So yeah, it's similar, I guess. But my average grade score was 3.0, so C basically, a flat C. And when I repeated classes, so I was always good at math. I always had like a 1 in math every single year, every single time. But because I had 5s in German and English, I had to repeat class. After I got into the new class with new friends and stuff, my average grade score increased by like, I think in the first year I got from 3.0 to 2.3. So like I got a better grade in probably in like 70% of the subjects we had in school, which is probably quite telling. So I did a lot better in school, and after that it only continued to increase. I continued to be to have the best grade score in my graduation year in high school, actually. So my graduation grade score was a 1.3, which is considered super intelligent in Germany, because no one does that. If you have a 1.3, you're like, you can do everything in university, because university depends on how good you were in high school. And the hardest thing to get into is psychology, actually. And you need a 1.3 at least, at least a 1.3 to get into it. And I had that, so it meant like a lot. I don't know. Everything changed. everything just changed. Yeah.
So you're going through school. Were video games a huge part of your life going through high school?
Yes. Well, high school. It was at the high school point, because I changed schools, right? And I changed schools even though I had a lot of friends then. I had friends in my class that I got into after I repeated a year. I still decided to change schools, and the only way to really keep in touch with a lot of people were through video games. So I played video games to continue having those friends. I didn't get too many new friends in high school, actually. But I had those friends. I played online, and I played League of Legends and whatever we got our fingers on, really. So it was kind of a big thing for me, yes.
So you're going through high school, and you get done with high school, and you're looking at doing university. First of all, what did you want to do in university? And
So the funny thing is, when I went to high school, because I was already smart when I changed into high school.
I like how you're like, oh, I'm in quotations smart.
Well, yeah, because it changed from being this dumb kid that had to repeat a year, right? So I was already smart. I transitioned into being intelligent when I was in high school. So after the first year, my math teacher told me that I should start university while being in high school, and that's what I did. I started attending, or not attending. There was like a what is it called, long range university, where they send you stuff and you have to read it, and then you go to exams.
Okay.
You don't actually attend like lectures. You just read stuff, go to exams, and pass them or fail them. I never failed exams.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, bro. I think you're really smart.
So I did this university thing on the side, and I was always into math and computer science. So I studied math and computer science, actually both. I tried to do like a hybrid thing where I did some classes of both while I was in high school. And when I ended high school, I was so torn between computer science, mathematics, psychology, and physics, and I was like, come on, how do I decide? And I basically, in the end, I thought I should only take one at the start, because going to university full time would be different. In the end, I should have done two, actually, because I was super bored in university. But
I think that boredom was a benefit, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, true, actually. So I just chose computer science because it was always computer science for me. I went to a different school because of computer science, so I kind of thought, okay, even though I really like physics, I really like astrophysics, I really am interested into this in this psychology thing, and I also like math, but I thought, okay, math is probably that would probably be too hard. I don't want to bother, really. So I thought, okay, that's kind of out of the question. Astrophysics was a big hobby for me. I spent hours upon hours on the internet reading stuff about astrophysics, and I was like, it's kind of a hobby, but do I really want to make this my job? Maybe not. And psychology, I thought I was always into it, but I didn't know if I was made for it. So I thought, okay, the safest way is probably just computer science.
I like how you logically had to deduct this for yourself. You're like,
yes.
Yeah,
I'm a very logical person.
You did a very cost-benefit analysis of your career choice, which is kind of telling of where you are now.
Yeah,
so.
Actually, that cost-benefit is actually, I think that was one of the things about psychology, because I was like, can you actually make money with that? Yeah, right.
I mean, you can. It's if you're a golden fish that is swimming through the river and you're doing good and everyone else is falling, then yeah, you can make money. But unless you're that golden fish, you're not making money in psychology. So yeah. So you get to go to college, and you mentioned that you were bored. What was the college experience like for you? Because I obviously went to college as well, and my college was because it was in the middle of nowhere where it snows 6-7 months out of the year. People just drink all the time. That's pretty much what our college. That's all that they do. So, it's really all you can do. You can go skiing too, but it's skiing and drinking. Like that's it. So what was college like for you?
Right. College for me. Okay, I started being this kid that went to college or did like university classes while I was in high school. So I thought, okay, if I do university full time, I'll just race through that and finish my bachelor's in like 1.5 years. That was my goal, and I was on the best track to do that. And I was like, this must be easy. So I went to university, and it was so freaking easy that at some point I noticed, not only do I not have to go to classes, I can literally start practicing for exams the night before and get a good grade. And that was when I was like, okay, I just It's this is not enough. I just don't need to do anything in university. So so university life became from being this super dedicated person who thought like I'll just like do everything to finish as quick as possible. And after half a year, I was starting to get recommendations to go to Japan to study artificial intelligence as my master's degree. But it just became so incredibly boring that I did not attend classes because I did not have to. Everything I learned in school or learned at home was enough already. I didn't have to do anything anymore. So it just became incredibly boring, and I started watching esports more and more because I had nothing else to do. Really, I had nothing else to do, so I played video games. I started watching more and more League of Legends back then. Yeah, that was college.
Okay, so you're watching League of Legends, and when do you start to think that esports is like a real thing? Where do you start to come in that, hey, there's some stats here, there's some analyst work here? How does that start to come a possibility? So what is your first foray into that?
We're going back to 2015 now. So 2015, I got my recommendations for Japan. I was pretty sure that I would go to Japan. And then suddenly I start making money, and a lot of money, betting on League of Legends. And
when you say a lot of money, okay, you have to put that in perspective for people who are kind of watching this. What is your equivalent of a lot? Are you making 5,000 euros a week?
So my equivalent for making a lot of money is surviving off of it. Because
is that like 200 euros? Like, what is that for you?
No. So it's like, I don't know, it must have been like actually like 2,000 to 4,000 euros a month or something.
Okay.
With just betting, and I started out like putting $50 into like an account, and after like 2 weeks, I was at like, I don't know, 1,000 or something. So I started making.
How did you get into, like, when you're doing betting, you obviously didn't be like, oh, I know that G2 is going to beat Fnatic. Like, how did you get into the point where you were making these bets and you were winning?
So back then, fantasy was the thing.
Yes.
Daily fantasy esports are no longer really big, but it just like got big back then, 2015. And was it actually 2014? One of those years, 2014 or 2015. It got big, and I thought, okay, I like League of Legends. I watched like every Korean game there is. Fuck the other regions.
You are working for an all-Korean team now. So.
Funny how that works, right?
Yeah, funny. Like,
so I watched Korea, and I was very confident in myself, and I thought like, okay, just like put $50 into it, and I started doing those fantasy contests. So you draft players, and the drafted teams that do best win money, right?
Yeah.
That's daily fantasy. So I consistently won money. I won money every single time because I knew so much about Korea. That's why my $50 escalated into this huge bankroll all of a sudden.
Now, when you say you knew so much about Korea, was it that you eyeball tested it, or did you know stats, and did you figure out which stats mattered, or were you quite literally just eyeballing this shit?
Back then, it was literally just eyeballing. I was always into the stat side, but I never really tried to be back then. I just eyeballed it, and I had so much knowledge. It's so weird. I felt like I knew exactly what would happen as soon as I saw team compositions after draft. I knew exactly how the game would play out, at least in Korea. Fuck the other regions. So just because I knew that, I started to make money, and then that's where stats came in. I started to use stats because I thought that's actually a valid thing. I was literally a professional fucking bettor.
Gambler.
A professional gambler, yeah. So that's when stats came in, and I started to use this to enhance myself, and like started to try to get my feet into other regions other than Korea, and it kind of worked as well. And I was like, wow, I have money all of a sudden. I don't even go to university. Why do I have to attend university? So um,
So,
this was the new life.
what was your, if you had to guess like a win percentage of like your guess percentage? Because that's what it really, when you come down to gambling, you're obviously not winning all of it. You're trying to make up wins and losses, and depending on that, what would you say your guess percentage was of being correct?
So in terms of traditional bets where you bet on lines or like on odds, my bet percentage was probably like 55% or something. Not too impressive. But when I played fantasy, I won like, I don't know, 70 up of 70% of my fantasy contests, and that is huge. I was the top 3 fantasy esports player in the world, actually. Like, and I guess only those kind of people can say that they are professional, because it's so restricted. It's only esports, and it's fantasy. But I was actually that's the only thing I've ever been one of the best in the world at in esports. I was never good at playing video games, but I was good at gambling on them.
I mean, there are sports that is professional gambling, so I think I don't know if they're called, whatever. They're basically, people professionally gamble for a living. It is a real thing, and that's really cool that you start to get into it like that. Now, you were involved with League of Legends. You were obviously really good at betting, and you started to incorporate stats into your work. Did you ever work for teams in League of Legends?
That's so funny. So like, at the end of 2015, we kind of feel we as like the top gambling community, because you get to know the other guys. Some of them were poker professionals, some come from NFL betting, and you get to know all those new people, and you know who to bet against and who not to bet against in like fantasy.
Because you don't want to bet against the other people who are good.
Yeah, you don't want to you don't want to bet on Europe and only have in a 1v1 contest this one guy who's like really good at betting on Europe. That's why no one would bet against me in Korea. And so I forgot the question.
Oh, did you start to work with teams? Did you start to use that stat work to work with teams?
So we kind of felt that the whole fantasy thing is kind of in a dodgy place at the end of 2015. It's probably dying because there's new regulations in New York, and there's new regulations all over America, and Europe always has been a gray area. So we kind of feel that, and I kind of think, okay, what else can I do? So I started actually writing articles about League of Legends and a little bit about fantasy. Because I kind of thought, okay, I enjoy that. I have nothing else to do anyways, because I don't go to classes. And then there was this job opening on Fnatic, and I was like, yeah, why not give it a shot? And I actually made it to the last round for like an analyst, and I actually made it to the last round of people who were considered, and I was a complete nobody. I was a complete rando. I had no Twitter. I was only a fantasy guy. But I kind of made it into the last round of considered people, and I guess I failed there. I never actually was employed by Fnatic, so I actually never worked for a team. But I can at least say I was close to it.
Okay. So, did you ever try out for any other teams? Because I know other positions have opened up since then.
So this was just a random thing, because I never really considered working for a team, because it was so weird to me that I was making money in the first place, and looking back, I should have done more work. I should have tried harder to get into a team, because apparently I had this good mind for the game, right? Apparently I knew what was going on there, so I should have tried more. I never tried anything else. I only did the Fnatic tryout because it just showed up, and I was like, yeah, why not? I mean, I can do that, and we had to review some matches and something. It was like Fnatic versus some Chinese team. But yeah, other than that, I never really tried. I never thought I should try.
So that was in you said 2015.
Yes.
Okay, so 2015, you don't make it into Fnatic. What do you start to do? Because you're not really going to school, right? Were you still enrolled in school, or had you dropped out?
I was still enrolled. I was still like fake attending it.
Okay. I like how you
my
say fake,
recommend-
even though you were still taking your exams and passing everything, right?
Well, I took some exams. For some, I literally didn't show up because I thought I don't want to wake up this morning. This was basically it. So I still kind of attended it, but I was making money, so why would I, right? That was my dumb immature thinking back then. Just to make that clear, I didn't have to make any money to be in university because in Germany you have to pay like $400 a year to be in university, and you actually get like something that's called child money, where if you are below 25 and not have an apprenticeship or a university degree, you get like a few hundred euros a year, so a few hundred euros a month, sorry, to survive. And so I never had to make money. I suddenly got money, and I thought, okay, I don't really care about university anyway, so I didn't attend it. And I forgot the question again. I'm just rambling.
No, I like hearing about this stuff. I asked if you were still enrolled in school and if you had dropped out.
Okay, so I was still enrolled. I took some exams, but I didn't really feel the need to take all of them. On my shelf there were all those recommendations for Japan, and I was like, do I actually want to get a master's degree? I still didn't have my bachelor's degree back then, but I was like, do I actually want to be an academic? And I thought like, this seems just too much of a bother. Nah, probably not. So I kind of already decided that I don't want to do my master's. But my parents still kind of pushed me to get my bachelor's, obviously. But I was kind of more and more involved in esports.
Did you eventually drop out of school?
Yes, last year.
Last year you dropped. So you're 2015. You're kind of going to school. What are you doing in the meantime? Are you still just betting?
So 2015 was all about betting. It was just all about betting. Start of 2016 as well. I got a girlfriend who was from Greece, so I just went to Greece and lived there with her for like half a year. Because that's something you can do in Europe, and I thought, yeah, I can bet from there, right? I can do everything from there, everything I want.
Yeah.
That's how it works if you have something to do on the internet. So, kind of 2016 kind of waltz along, and fantasy is really dying. Everyone knows that, so I kind of start to get more into the traditional kind of betting. Start to bet on fucking stocks. Not a good idea. I'm not good at doing that.
Did you lose money on stocks?
Yes.
Okay, so you weren't good at betting on stocks.
Nah, I was not good at predicting how companies do. So I kind of felt, fortunately enough, I had a lot of money, so well, not a lot of money. I don't want to sound like arrogant or anything, but I lost a lot of money on stocks, and a lot of money to me. And I thought that's when you stop. That's where I felt that all the betting stuff is like maybe a little bit too dodgy. It became really apparent to me when back in 2015, when I was like betting every week. I was betting like $1,000 on something. I was like, wow.
Yeah,
you kind of have to think about that and like take a step back and look at what you're doing, because that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So yeah, just like 2016 rolls along, and I was like kind of writing for a site. Actually, I was writing for an esports site about League of Legends.
Which site?
And it was some
Do you even
weird
remember?
click on esports.
Oh god, that name.
It sounds, yeah. Right?
That place deserved to collapse. Like,
yes.
Wow.
They paid me though. They did pay me, which was nice. It wasn't a lot, but they paid me, which I thought was cool for something I do as a hobby. And then like at some point people were starting to talk about Overwatch, right? This is where we slowly come to this place. So people were starting to talk about Overwatch. I was like, I don't want to spend $40 on a damn game. Why would you do that? League of Legends is free to play. Come on. This game looks like super comic style. I didn't like that at all. I was like, nah, I won't play that. So I never actually tried to get into beta or anything. My friends were, but I was like, nah, come on, don't be that guy.
Were you a league elitist? Because I was. I was like, oh, this Overwatch game is gonna die. It's like it looks so bad. I played it when it first came out. I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. I had to see 6 of the same hero, and I was like, this game is fucking dumb. And I literally uninstalled it as soon as I saw 6 of the same hero. I was like, I'm done, and I literally uninstalled. I was like, this is done.
The thing for me always was I played video games that I could play with my friends. While I was like kind of competitive in League, I actually made like diamond in some season.
I did too.
In one season. That was pretty cool. But I actually something that I did in university actually and around that time was I organized League of Legends tournaments for my university. And so I got more and more into just like other esports stuff, like more regional esports stuff as well. I started casting League of Legends, and Overwatch kind of developed this esports scene, and I always kind of play games that I play with friends, and since my friends played it, I eventually bought Overwatch. Right, I eventually bought Overwatch, and then I spent a lot of time in season 1 just grinding, and I thought it was a fun game, and as it always was with me, I stopped playing the game and just started watching esports because that's more interesting to me.
Yeah.
To be honest, I actually made masters in League of in Overwatch. It's as best as it gets in season 2. Now I'm a plat boy again. But yeah, I started watching esports tournaments, and I'll just go on, right? So
go ahead.
I feel like I'm telling my life story.
That is what this show's about, Barroi. I don't know if you watched it, but
yeah.
I get all the good shit.
So Overwatch comes along. I start watching it. I noticed that there's no stat site, and I always enjoyed Oracle's Elixir site by Tim Sevenfusen. For League of Legends, I really liked that. So I thought, okay, if no one else is doing like stats, why don't I do it? Right? So I started collecting stats for myself, and at some point,
how did you collect stats starting off? Was the API out? Did you have access to that?
No, so there was no API out early on. And actually, there was a thread on Reddit where someone posted like this program where it detects the heroes on the screen and tells you when heroes were swapped. And up until this point, I was only collecting basic stuff, like when points were captured, which map was played. And I started adding this new thing to my data collection, and I thought, damn, this is like really cool all of a sudden. And this guy who developed the program, nowadays I actually write the program myself because I figured it's easier. But
yeah, cut out that middleman.
Yeah, right. But this guy like approached me with another guy, and he made a step further and started tracking the kill feed. And this was like really cool. So I had all these new stats, and I pushed it on a website, called Winston's Lab. And this is where this whole crazy stuff happened.
Okay, so how does Winston's Lab get started? Like you're obviously getting this stat data in, and it's for mostly fun right now, I'm assuming, right? You're mostly doing it for your own self-enjoyment.
Exactly.
And you're like, oh, I think I'm gonna create a website, right? Like how does that? Yeah. That's a big jump.
So I had this program that I found on Reddit. I wasn't in contact with anyone back then, and I was like, I had so much data, and there was so much cool stuff that I found in that data that I thought, okay, I should probably make this public. And just because I was writing for League of Legends earlier, I thought I could write about that. just like as a hobby again.
Mhm.
I could just write about that and do some cool stuff. So I started doing that. I started tagging like Monte Cristo on Twitter, so I get retweeted. Like the pleb I was.
Cringe boy Barroi.
Yes, right. Like the big pleb I was. So it kind of blew up, and then this guy contacted me, had the new kill feed stuff. But already I had all this cool data, and I really liked looking into all of the stats. It was like so fun to me. That yeah, it's just like I don't know when the decision was made to like share it, but after I started sharing it, it was like so much satisfaction because people were praising it and were like as amazed as I was. So it was really rewarding.
Yeah. So Winston, how does Winston's lab start to come together? Like,
So yeah, I just for the name actually, the name was because I liked Oracle's Elixir, right? And I thought I don't want to be called Overstats because everything was oversight, over.gg, over I don't know. There were so many podcasts starting with over or ending with watch, and I was like, come on, there has to be something better. And because I thought I would make content, I want to have a better name. So I looked at Oracle's Elixir. Oracle's Elixir is the item in the game that where you can suddenly see invisible things in League of Legends. It was an item. It was an item.
Before it got removed. Yeah.
Rip in pieces. But I thought, okay, this is really cool because like stats also give you insights. You start seeing like invisible things. So I thought, okay, this is so smart actually. When I thought about the name, and I thought there has to be something like that in Overwatch. And I thought, okay, just this Winston guy, and he's a scientist, and that's when I thought, okay, so you can say like stats are kind of science, so you can say it's like Winston's lab, right? That's when I came up with the name and started a Twitter account and just bought the URL and started tagging people on Twitter so I get recognized.
I can only see part of him, so.
Yeah, I don't know.
So how do you get everyone else involved? So you're obviously starting there. You start doing coding. You're starting to do in stats. How do other people start to come into Winston's lab to build it out?
So first of all, it was just this other guy who provided me with the software.
Okay.
Because I didn't code it myself. I only coded the website and all the stat stuff.
Does he get a name or is he unnameable? If he's unnameable, I'm okay with that too. You don't remember.
He's not unnameable. So
you
there
don't
were
remember
two
his
guys.
name, do you?
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about that. Okay, there was Struck, and Struck, Struck was the guy who knew or like who got in contact with the guy who coded it. So he was like in contact with him because he thought he could make a website. Then he noticed that I already made a website, and those two approached me. And this other guy was a Russian. I'm so fucking sorry.
It's okay. This is gonna be the clip that I'm gonna post up there. The
Oh
preview clip is gonna be like, oh god.
I do obviously. Oh, his name was Viv. There we go. His name was Viv. I don't know his real name. His name was Viv. And he was with Patrick, who's Struck, who actually has whose birthday is on the same date as mine. Actually, we found that out later. Such a funny coincidence. But they kind of came into the whole Winston's lab thing, and at some point, people were reaching out to us and were like, "Can we have this for scrims?" and other people were like, "Can we invest in that?" And it just like came out of nowhere, really, that people approached us, wrote emails to our contact email that was like on the website for funsies, DM'd us on Twitter, and it like kind of got bigger. So we got like an investment all of a sudden from this baseball professional called Trevor May. It just coincidentally, from my perspective, it coincidentally just happened, really, that people got involved more and more. People reached out to me. I got I got to know coaches and analysts, casters, and it was really interesting.
So was this a company yet?
At some point, we founded a company.
Yeah.
It must have been like, I don't know if it was. No, it wasn't 2016. I think it was like in mid 2017 when we founded the company called Esports Lab LLC, which Winston's Lab is a part of, and the whole vision was to have this in other games too. That's why it's Esports Lab, not Winston's Lab. And yeah, then we got like people involved that did financials for us. So since people were asking for scrim shit, we thought that's a valid way to make money, and we started providing stat services for scrims and for teams.
So how does that develop with the scene? How does it work? Were you working with? I know you can't tell which teams, most likely, based on the NDA agreements that I know people give. Can you give me a percentage of teams that you were working with? Seeing as we're talking about stats, anyways. Like there was 12 teams. Can you give me a percentage?
Well, early on, long before the Overwatch League happened, we were talking to a bunch of North American teams. We kind of, Winston's Lab was kind of known in Korea, but only really as like this fun stats site.
Okay.
So Korean teams weren't involved back then. So we had, I don't know how many, but we had a couple of North American teams we worked with, and then Overwatch League started to happen. And out of the 12 teams that were playing in season 1, not to say too much, but I think almost half of the league at some point I worked with in some capacity, which is funny.
That's like a lot of people are like, oh, there's this Barroi guy, and this is like one of the biggest pickups that people have been talking about. And I think that there's some context that a lot of people who are not involved in the scene do not realize that you are not someone who came out of the blue.
People think Winston's Lab didn't make money. You don't realize that our money is not from ads from you going on the website. Our money comes from somewhere else. Okay, it's like teams actually paying us for stat services and providing reports. That's what I did back then. I coded stuff for stats. I wrote statistical reports to help teams scout. I helped a couple of teams scout for Overwatch League Season 1. I can't say how much. I don't know how much my opinion was taken into account, but I definitely wrote reports for a couple of teams, and some of them did really well. So even though a lot of people think that Winston's Lab was only this public thing, it was more about the private side.
Yeah. So you're mostly doing private work with it, which makes a lot of sense, and also why no one would know about it, to be honest. So they shouldn't really know about it. So it feels bad for you guys. Get involved. What can I say? So you look at Winston's Lab, and you did that last year, working with mostly the Overwatch League teams. There's a couple questions I want to ask you about that related towards statistics. So statistics are a very interesting concept in general. When you talk about statistics, people are always like, lies, damn lies, it's statistics. And there's a reason for that. And a lot of people try to argue that with Overwatch, the context means so much for statistics, and actually whether or not you get statistics to matter. I know you can't go into a lot of detail of your secret recipe, which is understandable. How do you get statistics to have meaning in Overwatch in a game that is so contextual?
So it is really hard. I know. It is really hard. You have to do a lot of abstract thinking, and come up with concepts that you have to. That's what I did. I mean, the articles I wrote back when I did public work, basically, when a lot of teams, when I thought the public side was more important, back in like 2016, 2017, I wrote a lot of articles about things I thought were important. And I came up with all those new concepts that you couldn't think of, like trying to conceptualize teams. Is it like what kind of team is it? Is it a team that is carried by DPS, by supports? Is it like are players considered aggressive or passive? It's something that is kind of abstract. You can't just directly use statistics most of the time because it's like really hard in Overwatch. I mean, something I always say is that if you just look at the heroes that you can play, the combinations of heroes, that's 20. Like if you have 26 heroes, I don't know how many there are right now, but I always said if there are 26 heroes, you have to consider that you have a possibility of almost 26 to the power of 6 different combinations of heroes you can play, and then the enemy team has the same goddamn potentialities. So there's so many possibilities that you can't just take every specific one into account. You have to create some abstract concept, and that's the only way to really make statistics work, I think, in Overwatch.
So you're not just doing statistics, you're functionally doing an artificial intelligence, because it's not just straight statistics like you were mentioning it earlier, but what you described to me, especially coming from a psychology, I'm like, wow, you're trying to come up with a way of thinking. It's not about numbers. It is a way of thinking that you can measure.
Yes, and I think in some ways I kind of people sometimes say that I revolutionized some ways in how people think about Overwatch, because just like if you just think about the concept of a team fight in Overwatch is like so important, and there's no one else that came up with like a definition. I basically am the only one who came up with a definition for that. It's really, as you say, it's like a lot of trying to come up with ways to think about the game, think that they are actually, the game is divided in team fights, and it's mostly about each individual fight. Same, you can think of ways to think about the game as like or as players being like aggressive or passive, and then use that to get a concept of how teams work and how team dynamics work and which team dynamics are better than others. It's just really about thinking of ways to think. Yeah.
Yeah, so I really like that. That is something that I can kind of get behind. So what made you say you were working with Winston's Lab? Are you still involved with Winston's Lab?
I mean, yes, it's my site.
Well, I didn't know how much you're involved now, so that's
why I'm literally the owner of the site.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you're exclusive to if Winston's Lab shifted focuses.
Well, yeah, I'm not the exclusive owner anymore. I don't have 100% of the shares because we got investment and all of that. But I still own the site to some degree. I'm still the only guy who works on all the code and stuff, and so yeah, I'm still kind of Winston's Lab. It's like less of a focus now for me.
Okay, so what made you decide to go from Winston's Lab to joining a team? Because that's a you were working with all the teams, and you're like, okay, I don't want to do this. I want to work with one team primarily. What was that decision like, and why would you make that decision?
Yeah, so in season 1, teams were already like poking at me and were like trying to figure out if I'm up for that. But I thought back then that I would rather work on an individual freelance basis, where I work with teams that come to me, and I can work with a lot of different teams to do what I'm best at. But I don't know, I kind of wanted like a change, really. I kind of wanted to explore how much I could do if I work with a team individually. I also, since I don't think stats are like the end all be all, because it's really hard to use them, I kind of wanted to become more of a coach, more of a traditional analyst. So I thought that joining a team might be a way to do that, really. Okay. And right now I'm in the position that I told everyone on the team that my main goal is to become more of a coach this season, and have the statistics on the side. I think that's something you can do part-time. I don't think that only doing statistics is something you can do full-time. And I just want to just broaden the skill set that I have.
Mm-hmm. So you're looking at getting more into coaching. How does that work being on an all Korean roster? Because I don't think you speak Korean.
Yeah. So when I thought, I was still unsure back when season 2 was like, or when season 1 ended, if I wanted to do that. But so I never actually publicly or privately said to anyone that I'm looking for that. So I actually wrote like an application to one team that never got back to me. But
yeah, screw that team.
Yeah, screw that team. But after that, I was still unsure. But after that, there were different people that reached out to me and were like actually asking if I'm interested in that. And this is kind of funny because I never said I was. I never said it to anyone that I would be interested in that. So people started reaching out to me, and actually I think I got offers from 4 teams at the end. But you know, I'm a Korean fanboy.
Yeah. Was that what made you decide, hey, I want to choose Toronto Defiant over the other 3?
I had a couple of Korean offers, to be frankly enough. I had one offer of a non-full Korean team, but the other 3 were full Korean teams, funnily enough. But
seems like Koreans no talent. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, after a while, after Winston's Lab got really big in Korea, and Korean teams started to reach out to us for like scrims and stuff. We had a lot of Korean contenders teams that purchased Winston's Lab Pro. That's how our product was called. So I was kind of known in Korea, I assume, or not. I was never known. Winston's Lab. Yeah. Winston's Lab. No one knows me. But
what made you choose the team?
So yeah, what made me choose the team is I thought that Toronto, from all the options I had, I thought Toronto would work best with my skill set, because I wanted to have a team where I can scout or help scouting, because I think scouting is like the biggest advantage where statistics help you. It's like the field where statistics are the most valuable, scouting in general, because you can do initial scouting just based on statistics, because you can't just look at every contenders player for like 4 hours and try to figure out if they are good. You have to have some initial limitation to that. So you get like a first set of players you want to look at, and I also wanted to kind of make it easier for me by working with someone I know, and I knew Bishop for a while. I worked with Bishop before. Can't say too much about that, but
yep.
But since I knew Bishop and he was this kind of friend to me, I thought that this was a great opportunity for me to have like a relationship with someone I know is in the team, that I'm friends with, and at the same time I can use my skill set to the best of my ability, and then learn from whatever comes after that.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So you get into coaching, right? You're trying to get into that. How does that work, being with an all-Korean roster?
Oh, that's funny. So everyone speaks Korean but me.
Yes, that is why I asked the question. You're the only one who does not.
We have a chef who speaks Korean. We have a house manager who speaks Korean. Our GM can speak a little bit of Korean, like literally everyone. So mostly how it works. The good thing is Bishop speaks English. So whenever we do coach meetings, it's either Bishop or our house manager, who is also bilingual, who helps me with translations. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I'm asked to do presentations on new compositions, for example, or like on strategies, because I'm more of a strategy guy. I always was into strategy, and I like, that's why analyst is actually a great name because I like analyzing the game. It's not just about statistics. I like trying to figure out what is going on. That is basically what analysis is. And I always like doing that in sports as well. In League of Legends, I was really good at that. And so I'm more of a strategy guy. So sometimes I'm asked to do like presentations, and it's something so that the players get to know me, because most of the players don't speak English, right?
Yeah.
And so whenever I do a presentation, I talk about it with Bishop before, so he can like immediately translate what I say. And I'm basically just standing there speaking English for like no one, or like the 2 or 3 people that kind of understand what I'm saying, and then Bishop just translates it into Korean. But it's just something for players to respect me, because that is kind of important in like a Korean team.
Is. So are you looking to learn more? Do you want to learn to speak Korean? Do you want to eventually get to where you are? Is that your ideal, is to only work with Korean teams? Or do you want to look at maybe in the future? Okay, first of all, I will say anybody who wants to poach Barroi, I can tell you the secret. It is easy. It's not as hard as you think. All you need is a penguin zoo and a panda zoo, and you need to promise that you will take him there on a weekly or a daily basis, and you've got him.
Yeah,
it's not about money. It's about pandas and penguins.
I gotta say, you're not too far off there.
I know people,
that's pretty accurate. It is pretty accurate. This panda shirt I have was given to me by our GM. Bishop just like bought me panda plushies, not plushies, like slippers.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that's really all you have to do. But to get to the original question. I was always into the Korean scene. Obviously, I always liked Korea. The first esports event I ever attended was in Seoul. This says a lot, I think. This was the first time I ever traveled myself outside of Germany, and I went to Seoul to watch an esports game. I don't know. That sounds so weird, but yeah, that's just how much I am into Korea. And I never thought that I would be able to, because people in League of Legends, there are no Korean teams with Westerners on it. I'm the first. I think I'm like more or less the first person.
You beat LS. Last Shadow would have been the only person he's working with Barbecue Olivers now, but you beat him. True. You were hired before him, I think. So
yeah, so I might have been like one of the first, at the very least, to be hired for a Korean team who doesn't speak Korean. And this is like so amazing to me, because again, I was always in the Korean scene, and I really want to learn Korean. The thing is, back in university, I actually started to learn Japanese, and back then I was like, oh, I could learn Korean or Japanese, but Korean is like the thing that's esports, and Japanese is like anime and Japan and shit. And I was like, I probably won't ever be in esports anyway, so I'll just start learning Japanese. So I can actually speak basic to intermediate Japanese. I can hold like conversations and all of that in Japanese, and I wish I would have done that for Korean actually, because right now I just wish I could speak the Korean, or as much Korean as I can speak Japanese. I'm really trying to learn it. So the advantage is that Japanese and Korean are like kind of close, so there are a lot of words that are similar. The grammar is totally similar, and I'm trying to get better at it. But there's really not much time, to be honest, to learn Korean, unfortunately, because we spend a lot of time just coaching.
So I only have a couple questions for you left. We've been here a long time, which is good. I like our conversations. So we've come to pretty much a conclusion of who you are. Like, if I feel like if people watch this, they're gonna get a good idea of who you are as a person. So one of my last questions that I always like to ask people is, if you, having experienced this being my show and the excitement and fun it is, if you could pick anyone to be on this show, whether or not they are a coach or a analyst or someone who's behind the scenes, a caster, doesn't matter. The only requirement is that I only speak English, because I am an American pleb. So they need to be able to speak English. So I'm sorry if you pick someone that speaks Korean who does not
Sure,
speak English, because I'm out of luck. But if you could pick anyone, who would you pick?
So I feel like this show is like really unique because it's a lot about not just esports, but like really the background, like the most basic background, like as far as it goes. And I would probably want to have someone who I'm like really interested in as a person. Like, what kind of person is like is he? Kind of a person was he? Like, how developed he? How did he or she develop over the years? How did esports come to be? And yeah, let me think about that. That's a good question.
People say that is the hardest question they've been asked, which I
Yes.
find hilarious. Like we talked about some really, really deep stuff, and that is the hardest question. I'm just like, dude.
So it really is a hard question.
Like, you gotta give me a name.
It would probably be someone. It would probably be a caster, and I'm thinking about the options right now. Because casters are obviously in the spotlight, and for me, I would like to know what kind of people they are.
Mhm. You also don't have to
because-
stick to Overwatch, by the way. You can
Sure,
switch.
sure.
So
Sure. So I'm just thinking that maybe there are like two people I'm kind of interested in that I would like to know more about just generally, and one of them would be Thorin probably,
Mhm.
but because I feel like he in his past he was a completely different person, and all of this esports thing kind of changed him, or he changed with it, which is like really interesting to me, just the whole development. And another person, just because he was like, for me, he was in the spotlight for like ever when it came to esports, is Monte Cristo, because back in League of again, I only watched Korea in League of Legends, so the first esports event was one with Monte Cristo. I actually got to meet Monte Cristo in person. He knows who I am now, which is like kind of crazy to me.
I won't lie, that was crazy for me too when I got to meet him, and
kind of crazy to the me of like 4 years ago at the very least. That I actually know this person, and he like shouted me out on Twitter even when I got picked up for Toronto, which is like it's like really cool. And I think I would like to know more about him as well. Just yeah, I mean this whole show, you know how it goes, like what kind of a person he is, like the whole background and how he kind of developed to being who he is. Yeah.
Okay, I like those. I like both of those names. So I'm not that I would dislike anyone you would say, but
Sure.
I think that's a pretty good point for the show. I think that's a really good ending. I like some of the stuff we talked about. So I want to thank you so much, Barroi, for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was a great experience, really.
I enjoy this. This is my fun for the week. Except for video editing, I hate video editing. So if anyone wants to offer video editing services for someone who does not currently have a lot of money, well, hit me up. But I want to thank you so much for being on the show. I don't normally do shout outs, but if you want to shout out some people, you're more than welcome to.
Well, I just want to shout out you, really, because like something that I think I changed as a person is that esports changed me really in the way that I was like really introverted back when, but nowadays I feel like I can just talk to strangers like a normal person, or maybe like even like a little bit of an extroverted person. I'm not shy anymore, and just like rambling like that is like really fun to me nowadays. And just going over all of this stuff that's like kind of back in the head back here, it's really fun. So thank you for doing that, really.
Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Deep Dives into the Minds of Esports, and until next time, have a great day.
Panda.